Hold your horses, everybody. We're gonna get started in just a second. No, I'm just kidding. What's up? Give me just one moment. We're making sure we got the notes together. There's just a few things that I want to bring up specifically with you today before we really get going. Vital. These are vital pieces of information because it regards the World Economic Forum. We're going to play it fair. We're going to address some of the things that they bring up about disinformation today as part of their new summit. This was just streamed September 20th, right? So this was a fairly new event. It's the Sustainable Development Impact Meetings of 2022, the World Economic Forum. And this segment is called Tackling Disinformation. So we're going to take a look to see what type of information they boast to be tackling, the nature in which that tackling happens, how to prevent that tackling, and all things tackling on behalf of the World Economic Forum. And we'll be fair about it. But from what I hear is they're essentially calling anything we talk about information pollution. They're creating a brilliant new framework because I watched only a few minutes of this. So we're going to watch this video and we're just going to comment on exactly what it is they mean, because they essentially, you know, as usual, lay out all their tactics that's going to end up directly affecting us. We see that they're looking into automating the fact-checking process. We know that, like Fauci, like the powers that be, associate things like the Reuters fact check, these various fact checks that you see on Google as the first results, as official record, right? Because Fauci, during his Rand Paul questioning, pretty much has stated as such, right? So we know that's the level of fact-checking that they're looking to automate, which is very dangerously low threshold, because that really means that, you know, people like you and I are very much in danger of never being able to use these platforms again, right? Because that's a pretty, doesn't take much to trip that wire, so to speak. So we are going to analyze, you know, this. How bad is it? It's 54 minutes. I can't promise we're going to get through the whole thing. I think these two women, Rachel Smolkin and Claire Wardle, are the two guests. The host is Adrian Monk. My cat is meowing like crazy. I don't know if you can hear him. And they're associated with CNN, at least one of them is. So we'll look into their backgrounds. So we're going to read the description. I'll finish off getting my notes together, and then we'll get rolling here. But they describe the video as disinformation is not new. Examples of disinformation and so-called fake news campaigns are plentiful. But with increasing fears about the cost of living, exacerbated by the pandemic and the energy crisis, it is now more critical than ever to tackle disinformation head on. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So thank you for stopping by. We're live on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, Twitch, basically everywhere. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in just a sec. Once again for stopping by the memory hole. Not a bad place to be. It's pretty interesting. Okay, so what are we looking at today? We're talking about tackling disinformation. They're going to tackle that. You watch football? You watch sports? We're going to tackle that disinformation. We're going to tackle it hard. We're going to be like, I don't know. what's one of the names of Brett Favre? We're gonna be like Brett Favre. No, he doesn't. He's not. He's throwing. Anyway, we got to tackle disinformation hard. And the issue is that it's a national security threat. So the main context here, and that I've been talking about in my recent videos, that I think is the most important thing to focus on when it comes to at least just, censorship, is the infodemic, right? They put a name to it. Let's just actually make it a point to refer to it as the infodemic, right? It's on the World Health Organization's website, and it's essentially treated the same way as a pandemic, viral transmission from person to person, except of the mind, right? It's a mental contagion. Disinformation is what I'm saying is a mental contagion, and now is being referred to as such. Gone are the days COVID has phased us into a new reality where, you know, conspiracies are no longer the goofy guy with the tinfoil hat on his head, which, by the way, was a bullshit archetype to begin with, sort of assisting in the smear of the reputation. But that's my point. It was trendy back then to just write it off as silly and absurd. It wasn't very troublesome. It wasn't a disruptive force. But I don't exactly know what has changed, if it's just the time has come, or if something specifically spooked them so bad that they're just clamping down. The point is that they are entirely clamping down on all of that. He's no longer a goofy tinfoil hat. The cultural lexicon of the conspiracy theorist trope, the narrative that character arc in Hollywood across time from now on is domestic terrorist-like activities, posing a real physical, imminent danger to you, your family, your loved ones, your meemaw, your peepaw, helpless, defenseless, screaming out in pain as the right-wing radicalized QAnon super soldier reaches out to them like zombies, rabid zombies, trying to overthrow the government. That's the perception they're building now. Right, we can't show them that as goofy and pointless now. We have to really paint. So the point is that QAnon, okay, in tandem with January 6th, resulting in January 6th, in tandem with the COVID pandemic, you can now quantify conspiracy theories as physically imminently dangerous because they resulted directly because of the election interference conspiracy theories that were debunked, by the way, right? Resulted in, they went and overthrow the government. It was pushed along by QAnon radicals. Those are conspiracy theorists. QAnon conveniently bundling in every conspiracy theory, which really aren't conspiracy theories, you know what I mean? Then, of course, promoting vaccine hesitancy, right? That's an issue because, well, you can now tie death rates from people. Excuse me, my cat is just really... I'm sorry. I don't know what he's meowing about. He'll stop in a moment. You can now, because of these theories, right? Death rates from COVID are skyrocketing in X, Y, and Z geographical locations, right-wing, holdout areas, right? Because they believe in conspiracy theories, right? People are dying because conspiracy theorists made it go viral. The fact that COVID is no different than the cold. Then they stepped outside and immediately died from COVID, right? Shit like that. So our ideas are now not to be trifled with and indeed need to be dealt with swiftly, efficiently. Time to tackle them, right? Time to tackle them hard. In fact, we're going to tackle them so hard, we're going to automate the process and hit you with industrial force. Like that's, essentially what they're talking about here, right? We joke, we have fun, but that's literally, I think I broke it down quite concisely there. This is why they're so concerned. This is national security, and we've seen what they're willing to do in places like Canada, where they seized the bank accounts of people that have, I might be, what is it? I know that there was two different types of people that got in trouble. I mean, a lot of the organizers or whatever, some of them, even members that were present there had their bank accounts frozen or some fuckery, some shenanigans with their bank account, right? Closed out, iced out. I think there might have been issues with people that even donated to the convoy, right? Like, just think about some naive person that's like, hey, cool, yeah, I can get behind that, not even really knowing much else. Throw them $5. Like, does that put you on does that put you on a watch list as a domestic terrorist radicalization potential 75%? Like, somewhere like that in the threat matrix? Because I've been a steadfast supporter in the idea that it's not just rhetoric, it's not just semantics, it's not just language when they say in the past conspiracy theorists were just goofballs, doofus, not to be listened to, but now they're domestic terrorists. It's not like that's just a name. That is an entire shift in the bracket when it comes to like law enforcement, intelligence agencies, and those required whose jobs it is to monitor and look out for these things. Okay, I guess I'm speculating. Is it true that now we're shifted into the same bracket as like you have the capability to look into me as if you were looking into some ISIS organizer or something like that? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because you put the terrorist label on and you're no different than the ISIS terrorists, right? That spontaneous terrorist group that came about. Do you get what I mean? So I hope that's really making sense, and I want it to sink in. It's the infodemic, and now that they have COVID as the conditioning, fear propaganda working very, fear conditioning, fear propaganda, just the nonstop fear, fear, fear. I'm reading, we're going to do a video on this, The New World Order by H.G. Wells, one that a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people have already read it. I never got through the whole thing. I was reading other ones. I forgot about this one. We'll do a video on it eventually. Oh, but he talks about war propaganda, right? Being a type of driver in world collectivization. So I thought that was interesting. So before my ranting gets to be too crazy, remember to follow me on Rockfin. That's rockfin.com /memoryhold. What am I doing here? Let's get this out of here. I want to show you guys rockfin.com /memoryhold. We're live over there. Appreciate those that are watching. Let me move this. I just uploaded a ton of new videos over there. Bitchute.com /memoryhold. And then, of course, we're live on YouTube, too. YouTube, I don't even have a cool URL, which is unfortunate. I've been restricted. I'm not allowed to have any cool, customized URLs. Plus, I couldn't even use a memoryhold URL anyway. But yeah, help me out. We've done pretty good, so I do appreciate those of you that have helped me out over on Rockfin. I mean, 2,138, that is, we're doing pretty good, right? It was only a week or so ago that I was saying, yo, let's try to get to 2K. So thank you guys. I appreciate the support. Everyone that has recently thrown a tip. All right, with that out of the way, how are they going to tackle disinformation? I'm a little scared, to be honest with you. All right, they start off with like...
People have been speaking about the climate crisis. So many things have been put on paper, but the real question is, why is it that we still...
And by the way, any hiccups, any skips, I apologize. I think I got the settings right. I don't think this shit's going to crash on me. I apologize if anything happens. Okay, yeah, climate change. Starts off with climate change. Remember, this is a sustainability summit. Actually, I tweeted the other day article about climate migrants, right? Like it was all these refugees because of drought somewhere. I forget where it was. And I just remember, I forget who wrote about it, but like climate migrants will become a new trendy buzzword. And it looks like with this video we're about to watch, one of the new trendy buzzwords is also information pollution. I think that's way more important than, not even than we know. It's just something that you can, I'm trying to get to the point, guys, I'm sorry. It's just something that you can hear someone mention and not really think as being impactful, but like fast forward 6 months and you hear it every day on the news. Sort of like deep state. I remember a fucking time where deep state was not like a normal thing to bring up on mainstream television at all. Here we go. But now it's used all the time is my point. Information pollution, very clever way. Remember, we're trying to make information look the same in the minds of the masses, look the same as a virus. Or pollution is a good one. I didn't think about using it as pollution, but see, bad information is like a virus, okay? It's also like pollution. And what are we trying to fight? Pollution. What's pollution caused by? People. Also, how many of you are there? There's too many people. Like, it all bleeds in together. So it's interesting that they're attacking now information for the first time that we've seen as if it were literal pollution or a literal virus. It's just that on, the other side of that information is people like you and I, true human beings. So, okay, let's watch since I've ranted, we're going to watch like the first 2-minute chunk. I'll take it in and then we'll talk about it together. Thank you again for being here.
Hello and welcome from Manhattan. I'm Adrian Monk at the World Economic Forum, and this session is Tackling Disinformation, part of our Sustainable Development Impact Meetings 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm delighted to say that for this panel we have a fantastic group of experts. With me here in the studio we have Melissa Fleming, Under-Secretary General for Communications at the United Nations, formerly in charge of all the comms for UNHCR, and a very distinguished communicator and podcaster. I'm also joined down the line by Rachel Smolkin, who is Senior Vice President at CNN in charge of the network's digital output, and one of the leading experts in Disinformation, professor at Brown University, Claire Wardle. And Claire also advises many organizations on what they should do to combat disinformation. But to start our session, Melissa, I wanted to turn to you. When you took over in 2019 running communications for the United Nations, I imagine you had on your agenda the Sustainable Development Goals, a lot of the big global issues that the UN tackles.
We got the United Nations on deck here.
I'm guessing that you probably didn't have on the list of things that you'd be looking at fighting global disinformation. How did that become part of your mission?
Yeah, you're right. It was certainly kind of bubbling in the background as a phenomenon, but it really exploded with COVID-19. But I think it exploded also in our own awareness of the phenomenon and the problem.
Well, she remember I said it was really more like 2016. I mean, I can't speak entirely because I that's when I sort of started all this in 2016. But I was pretty active and present between like 2014, 2015. So my point is, things seemed kind of tame. Like I would dabble in the conspiracy stuff, that's once again bad name for it. But you remember the Jade Helm Boston bombing days? Like, I'd poke around. And it was all still very just tame and calm, but it's almost like a hornet's nest was batted awake during the elections 2016. And she's saying COVID, but that was another hornet's nest being batted. But I don't know, at that point I guess I was just already used to it. Okay, let's continue here.
Because
the point is notice how she notes an explosion. In the background I was explaining how it used to just be, oh, that goofball, that guy, we're just gonna write him off, he's a weirdo, right? He's kind of creepy, this conspiracy nerd, this dweeb. But now, no, we gotta change. Now it's a problem, right? It bubbled up to the surface, as she says, and it exploded onto the scene because of, in her mind, COVID.
as long as the social media platforms had become so dominant, there was already a proliferation of mis and disinformation that was achieving what we were trying to achieve, a better world, and a more inclusive, a more peaceful and harmonious world. It was making it more difficult. But with
harmonious, I always like when they use that word, and people like you and I were making it more difficult, according to her. So in other words, we were getting in the way of the United Nations plans for a better world, creating a more peaceful and harmonious world. Do you remember, I'm not going to say the name because we're on YouTube and we're seeing how we can do on all these different platforms, the stones that are in Georgia, right? And the inscriptions on those stones in all the various different languages, something about 500 to 1,000, maintain the blank at 500,000, and talks specifically, it mentions harmony. So harmony is a big word that is used, and this goes back to like UNESCO. I believe they also talk about returning to harmony, that type of idea, all the way back in that paper by Julian Huxley with UNESCO, which is United Nations in the end. So yes, Klaus Schwab and these smart cities where they're talking about like the sustainable climate change side of things. They talk about, building mad parks in these cities. If we organize cities better, we can put more parks and we'll be back to harmony with nature again, instead of all that concrete harmony, and we were getting in the way of that. In other words, time to shut you down. Sorry, you're in the way of that. Time to shut you down. Time to shut you down.
COVID-19,
you're in the way of harmony.
Realized very quickly we were in a communication crisis unlike any that we had ever been in before, because this was a novel pandemic, and we were asking the
everything's different, aka there's no rules when everything's different.
Public around the world to do things that they were very uncomfortable doing.
And as Klaus Schwab says, remember, she's acknowledging, we made people around the world do things that they were uncomfortable doing. Well, boy, what can that be? Locking us down for X, Y, and Z amount of time, depriving us of, basic dignity, or coercing us into certain procedures, right? Depending on how you feel about your body, right? Things like that. So yeah, I'd agree with her. But then what did Klaus Schwab say? He said that that's a good sign. That's mass compliance. That's a good sign, because the public is willing to do what it takes. It's willing to do what it takes to get to get that virus out of here. Ready to take the next level. That public, I've never, man, the public shouldn't have underestimated them. They're really willing to take that next step to get this virus the fuck out of my face. They did what they had to do. The virus came in the clutch. They got the procedures done. They kept going back for the procedure. It was uncomfortable, but they did it. Time for a new world, baby. Fucking stupid, man. I'm goofing here, but Jesus. Yeah, she's right. And then I'm just saying that, they brag about this. Klaus is like, that's a good thing. That's a good sign. Now we can apply that compliance elsewhere. That's what that article stated by them. Right.
And there was also so little known. We know that communicating science from just looking back at communicating vaccines or communicating all kinds of science is hard because it's not black and white. It's nuanced. And in this case, the virus was changing. And we're used to, as public health institutions or the UN or WHO, putting out kind of press releases or dry documents in the form of PDFs. And meanwhile, very emotive content was going out, people expressing their fears. And people who are very active in the anti-vaccine scene and others were seizing the opportunity.
Right, so there's no nuance there. Let's just establish that right off the bat. Yeah, just you're always anti-vaccine. Everyone against the redacted vaccine, redacted 19 vaccine, is certainly against all others, right? That logic follows.
Of people being so afraid as well, and injecting disinformation and misleading information.
Let's be clear, that is true, of course. There are tons of bad actors out there deliberately trying to disrupt society, sow discord in our political mechanisms, okay? These are various different groups. These are just about every country that you can imagine that has some level of sophisticated computer technology, right? That allows them to employ different technological cyber warfare tactics and such. I don't know. That's obviously true. The Russians, the US, we have a huge force. Now it's on the NGO nonprofit corporate level where all of these people are farming out their own bots for their own purposes, whether it's political, right? You just make a bunch of bots on Twitter talk about, I'm voting memory holds. Memory holds the best. You're a horse face. I'm voting memory hold. All that shit. And it creates the illusion to the masses that, those are all just regular people, right? Tweeting that, and the technology has made it so that individuals with a lot of money or something like that can do that shit. So yeah, I just want to say if you stumbled on this randomly, obviously I know that disinformation and misleading information is real. I think where we differ is how threatening it is and how we're expected to deal with it. AKA, we're not expected to deal with it. They're going to deal with it for us by keeping us safe at all times for us in our best interest.
Fueled also by some leaders and governments. So it was this, it was a cacophony of information. WHO called it an infodemic.
There it is. It's an infodemic, right? It's an officially, I don't think it's important to note that the World Health Organization is put a fucking name to this thing, an infodemic, right? And we are the virus. It's crazy.
Which meant it was, if you were a user and you were trying to search, you were just confused because there was so much information. Some of it good, some of it and some of it really, really bad. So yes, we started to...
This is not the only video of theirs that fucks up the audio in this exact way. It's actually kind of funny. Whoever the audio guy is either making the same error or it's the same microphone they've used in other videos that's just fucked up. I swear to God, this.
Study the phenomenon, and I know...
I'm sorry.
Claire Wardle...
It's in multiple other videos.
...seized with this as well. So maybe she can comment and then we can speak a little bit about what we did and how we kind of changed course and beefed up our operations to...
So this is interesting. This is where she's going to discuss, like, as she said, how they beefed up their operations, I think, to combat disinformation, aka people like you and I, right? Content creators creating videos like this, writing about things like this. The journal is trying to get stories out about certain stories that fall into this unfortunate category. So this is going to be hopefully very interesting because I'm curious to see. Do tell, how did you beef up these operations? I'd like to know how you're trying to tackle me after all, you know?
Tried to address it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear a bit more about that. But Claire, I mean, you've been studying disinformation for probably longer than almost anyone in the academic and communications world. Give us a sense of how big a problem we're facing. This is something that a lot of people in the media talk about. It's something that you hear about, on shows dedicated to kind of examining the media world. But is it something that really everyday citizens ought to be concerned about, or is it something that's small enough to be contained and we should put some perspective to it?
It is something that people should be concerned about, and I often say we can't put everything back into a box, that fundamentally our information environment will always be polluted in different ways, and that actually as citizens we have to learn how to navigate polluted information environments. And like pollution, some of it is by people who are trying to make money and they don't care and they're polluting the environment.
So, damn, what did they just say a second ago? That's fucking wild, man. Think about the implications of this for a moment here. Let's just go back.
It's small enough to be contained. And
so, I mean, that's a big question, right? Does the average citizen have to, like, have a reason to worry about this information, right? Because again, they're trying to quantify conspiracy theories to violence so they can clamp down as if it's as dangerous as any other virus. They lock down the world because of a virus. Well, this is sort of like a virus, but of the mind. That would be the first real, true mental land grab. Largest stride towards doublethink, wrongthink ever. And they're mobilizing it right now. So is this information dangerous to society? Well, of course. Is it a concern to society? Well, of course they say. But what else do they say here?
We should put some perspective to it.
It is something that people should be concerned about, and I often say we can't put everything back into a box, that fundamentally our information environment will always be polluted.
Our information environment will always be polluted. That, my friends, is, again, super important, because that framework I had never thought of, but that is no doubt they're deploying it here. Again, September 20th, 2022. This is pretty new. It's October 5th, so some time has passed. But this is one of the newer summits that World Economic, most recent Sustainable Development Impact meeting. And this is new language to me. So we could very well be seeing a future where they're referring to a polluted information environment as like the major cause, right? Because we're already conditioned and primed to be just as radical about climate change and environmental stuff as we are with Ukraine and shit like that. Is already, it's that same religious ferocity, that spirit, that enthusiasm to just blindly follow a cause, whatever it might be, whether it's something with COVID and the excuse me guys, and the pokes, right? You stand behind that, and now you stand with Ukraine, now you stand with George Floyd, now you stand with whatever that energy is, right? And I don't know. Information pollution, before I get to ranting again. We have that fervent belief to stop pollution in the world around us, and that fucking includes bad information. You're spreading bad information. I'm going to report my uncle who spreads bad information at the table. It's polluting my information environment, and I'm trying to stop that. We're trying to stop the pollution of the physical environment, stop the pollution of the mental environment. Psychic peace and patience awaits us. But we gotta tackle the disinformation artists first. Peace and harmony awaits us in a non-polluted information environment. So long as we get rid of them and tackle them first. That's the World Economic Forum, you know? It's fucked up. Because they even say, and then I'll stop and we'll continue, they even say themselves that a lot of this is good-natured information sharing, okay? This is someone saying, hey, check this out. Did you hear about this? Have you considered this? Check this out before you decide whatever. And to them, it's disinformation. But it's not like a professional disinformation artist or a spy or a whatever espionage techno wizard at work on behalf of some enemy nation or rogue group. It's just Meemaw sending a link thinking to something she thinks is concerning when it's just all fake, according to them. All right. So, scary.
In different ways, and that actually as citizens we have to learn how to navigate polluted information environments. And like pollution, some of it is by people who are trying to make money and they don't care and they're polluting the environment.
So again, it's exactly like pollution, right? Let's make that bind information, not tangible in terms of physical, but nonetheless as damaging and as present as a physical thing, like physical pollution.
So
it's perfect because it also evokes a lot of emotional imagery, right? That those I don't know, man. When you think of pollution, first thing you think of smog piling out of these fucking disgusting, ugly ass buildings.
people are doing it for political gain. So disinformation, which is people deliberately creating false information to cause harm, the amount of people doing that is relatively small.
Right. So it's not a lot of people. In other words, it's just a bad eggs in an otherwise good basket. And then I believe what they go on to talk about here, I gotta remember my notes, is what I just said. The good-natured people. Like Uncle Bob, I think she says.
But they're pretty good at it because they're learning and they adapt and they evolve. The bigger problem is the fact that many citizens, all of us as humans, are susceptible. So as Melissa said, one of the reasons that the pandemic was such a difficult time was because we were all fearful. All of our lives were turned upside down. And so when as humans we are frightened, we're scared.
Yeah, okay, so I notated this part as being like, yeah, just listen very carefully to this part. She says, we as humans, like, we're scared. We're scared.
Our lives were turned upside down. And so when as humans we are frightened, we're scared, we're unsure, our critical functions don't work as effectively. And so what that means is that we're all sharing information with each other, often trying to be helpful, but not understanding that actually it's false or misleading and it's going to lead to harm. So, you know, this panel is called Tackling Disinformation, but really it's all forms of polluted information.
All forms of polluted information
That we should be aware of and taking different steps, you know, to stop Russian actors who are deliberately trying to destabilize a country. We need to take certain actions there to prevent Uncle Bob from sharing misleading information at the Thanksgiving table.
Okay.
Is a different set of responses. So,
okay, wait, so this doesn't make sense. She basically says we need to tackle not only whatever example of disinformation, but all forms of disinformation. She says we need to tackle the Russian disinformation guy that's, you know, a real bad guy. He's trying to spread false information for political or monetary gain. But then she says, what about
really trying to destabilize a country? We need to take certain actions there to prevent Uncle Bob from sharing misleading information at the Thanksgiving table. Is a different set of responses.
So when she says it's a different set of responses, Uncle Bob sharing the way she just tacked that onto the sentence had me concerned for a moment, because it made it sound like that also counts as information pollution, right? Because she said might not just be digital information pollution. Then she brings up the Uncle Bob example. I'm like, well, what the fuck are you gonna do to stop, like, to manipulate my dinner table conversation? Like, do you get what I'm saying? So I think when she said, like, that's a whole different thing, I think maybe that was just like her joking around. Maybe I'm an optimist. Yeah, so I'll timestamp that. It's 14:33. If anyone wants to, like, I don't have the time to sit here and fucking speculate about it. If you want to play that back and leave a comment about, you know, what it actually means.
So it's all of these different things that we need to learn and understand in order for us to try and mitigate the harms of polluted information.
Thanks for that. And I want to bring Rachel in here. I mean, Rachel, you have a huge portfolio at CNN, but, you know,
the harms of polluted information, right, is what she said. Now they're talking about, you have a huge portfolio at CNN.
You're in a position where, you know, CNN is both an organization that's trying to make sense of the world and trying to establish the facts. It's also part of a political war on who owns the narrative.
What? Excuse me? The fuck did he just say? This guy just out in the open, guys. Tell me you heard that. I hope you were listening. Tell me you heard that. CNN is not, it's not just an ordinary news network. What did he say?
Organization that's trying. You're in a position where CNN is both an organization that's trying to make sense of the world and trying to establish the facts. It's also part of a political war on who owns the narrative.
Okay, I didn't know that. No, I'm just kidding. Of course we knew that, but isn't that fucking wild to be just straight up saying, like, it's part of the war to try and dominate the narrative? AKA, what are we talking about here? Centralization of centralization of the current thing. Does that make sense? There are no more fragmented current things, right? And if there are, there's just a few. We need to find a way to centralize most of the world to go with stand with Ukraine. And then in a few months, stand with George Floyd, right? And then in a few months after, do you get what I'm saying? Where it's like a script upgrade to their mental ideology, their belief system, right? Which we kind of already see because people are swayed easily, right? Especially young kids on social media. People are swayed easily by the shit they see, whether it's on television or in a magazine. All those years ago, it doesn't matter before social media. It doesn't matter. You're impressionable. People are impressionable. They're easily swayable, right? All you just ask Edward Bernays, right? Just look into propaganda. And it's like you can condition them pretty easily. And I just feel like that's kind of like what's happening here. They're trying to centralize our ideas and our current belief systems and our current trends and our culture instead of lots of varying different things. Self-sustaining, grassroots, they emerge because there's a genuine interest. I think it's just the thing they're trying to create, the great centralization, aka there is not more than one narrative. It's just a political war on who owns the only narrative, which CNN is a part of, right? And what is CNN representative of?
It's also part of a political war on who owns the narrative.
Correct. And they're levying the power of like quantum computing. They have a fucking basement office at Skunkworks to try and clamp down on people like you and I right now and the shit that we're doing. This video has been so far tame, right? Usually I misspeak by now and get the video removed. Thank you. It's going to be a longer one than I thought, so let's try and hurry this up. My bad.
And
that's just a wild statement, though, to make openly.
You're also now facing these folks that Claire just alluded to, who are in a professional business of fabricating disinformation in order to make your life even harder. How do you and your colleagues kind of go about looking at that disinformation environment? Is this something that you've become used to, or is it something that's, you're still learning to kind of navigate and learning to kind of make your way through?
Claire did such a good job with the framing of this as polluted information.
What did I say? Yo, what the fuck, man? I know these guys too good, or these women, these fine and respectable women. She's even complimenting Claire on her dope-ass framing of this as information pollution. So look at the genuine, coordinated, supported attempt at turning this into wrongthink, okay? The first full spectrum assault on information, thoughts, beliefs, under the guise of it being a mental contagion no different than a virus, an infodemic as classified by the World Health Organization. It's going to be hunted down and destroyed by Klaus Schwab and his minions. It's going to be hunted down. You done fucked up, kid. Shared the wrong link. I'll give you 10 seconds to remove that tweet. You done goofed, kid. You done goofed, kid. Oh my god, dude. Hey, dope framing, making this into something that it's not, is what she says. Good job, Claire. Listen, just ignore bad information. Is it that hard? Just ignore it. It's not going to hurt anybody. But no. QAnon radical super soldiers try to overthrow the government and take down Mike Pence on live television. make a meal out of Nancy Pelosi. So now we have to be dealt with swiftly.
I find that a really helpful way with the framing of. Claire did such a good job with the framing of this as polluted information. I find that a really helpful way to think about it, because as we navigate this environment, the information being put out that is deliberately wrong is all mixed together with information that is wrong, misleading, dangerous.
So, okay, let's think about that for a moment. I agree. It's kind of fucked up to just lie. Like, for instance, I fucking hate UFO channels that are clear CGI. Just, it's purposeful disinformation. It's just fucked up. The internet would be better off without it, but do I think we should enforce its removal in any way, right? I don't know. And as she said, it's all mixed together with information that's wrong or misleading, just like the CGI UFO videos. It's just not nefarious, okay? Because people are just wrong sometimes. Memory hold makes a mistake from time to time. Which, by the way, if I ever do make a mistake, I always say, call it out in the comments, and if it's bad enough or whatever, I'll retract the statement, right? And give you the sources to where to find the actual correct information. I mean, I try my best, we all do, but yeah, anyway, I'm just saying, like, that's what she's kind of talking about here. It's fucked up. Deliberate disinformation, deliberate psyops, but what the fuck are you gonna do, man? I don't know, because you know that there's no way to combat it without exerting some type of comprehensive control, which is gonna fuck it up for everybody. Do you get it? And that's what they're trying to do here, comprehensive control. The World Economic Forum's main push here, alongside with what they're talking about now, right? Attacking this infodemic, automating the fact-checking process to attack that infodemic. They're talking about not automating it to remove it from sites like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the big platforms. They're talking about, because they already do that for the most part. Sure, the AI can be better. They're talking about not even letting that information get to the big platforms. Do you understand the implications of that? So parallel to this, tackling disinformation, sustainable development impact like movement toward censorship, attacking the infodemic, right, is also this automation, AI honing, crafting to try and get this information, make it the information environment of the internet entirely unable to see these things. Like, there's just no way to permeate the barrier to Twitter, to Instagram, perhaps a digital sphere of some sort, right? Like, making it very difficult for things to ever lift from 4chan, which is also why they're attacking 4chan and these other anonymous websites sharing information. They look at it as a threat for radicalization, things like that. Okay, let's
No matter what the original intent of the information is. So we are navigating this in different ways and in different spaces. We've been very much in the space around the 2020 US presidential election, the claims of...
We saw how bad that was, right? They really any claims. It was that and the Hunter stuff, Hunter computer stuff, that you saw the entire, every technology company whose products you use clamped down on that singular story. And those are two examples. It did that with the Hunter stuff, and it did that with the election stuff, big time. I felt it, because I had to remove a video because of it.
A stolen election, the false claims, the whole Stop the Steal movement, that we've been really pressing to give audiences the facts, because the strength of our democracy is in our institutions.
Again, what they're saying here is the strength of our democracy is in our institutions, right? Which is basically like, we need to make it so the public has faith in our institutions. And what it's resulting in is basically like, we're going to force the public into trusting the institutions by digitally fabricating an illusion that makes it appear as such. Do you understand? Through the usage of bots and shills and psyops and very advanced fear campaigns, mass conditioning, right? You're able to condition a large swath of the public to your side of things, right? As well as just create the digital fabricated illusion through the usage of hundreds of thousands of bots, aka people, to show the rest of the populace that has not yet turned to your side how normal and cool and mainstream and trendy, and looks like the majority of people believe that. But it's all fake just because you made a bot farm, right? So they're just straight up saying we have to maintain the trust in our institutions and we're here to help fix that. It's like, well, why don't we trust the institutions? They don't talk about that. What they're talking about is our democracy depends on trusting these institutions. We're going to make them trust the institutions. How do you do that? Tackling disinformation, right?
And the public trust in the institutions. It becomes very complicated when there is not an agreed upon set of facts and a single narrative. There are the facts, and in the media, it's our job to continue to point those out, no matter what the politicization around it is.
CNN doesn't really do that. And I'll admit, neither does Fox News. Like, very hyper-partisan two-party system. They're caught in that illusion. None of the media is really that good. I mean, I don't know what media to read nowadays, right? I mean, I guess The Guardian still puts out some decent information, right? Some good article. I don't know. I don't know. So that claim is just right off the bat kind of, you're part of CNN, you know?
The other challenge, and Claire and Melissa both got at this, we're no longer in one confined space. This is not just happening in the political space. It has been a huge issue during the pandemic. We've seen it a lot around the...
So the polluted information space, disinformation people like me, right, like you, have been an issue when it comes to the elections, is what she's saying. But we've also become an issue when it comes to the pandemic. She'll probably maybe bring up, you know, the pokey, okay, stuff like that. So we are, in general, a nuisance, as the United Nations lady said at the beginning. We were getting in the way of them building a better world, one that's in harmony, right, with nature.
Vaccines and false claims and misinformation about the safety of COVID vaccines that can...
Meanwhile, right now, we're living in a reality, and I have to be real careful with what I'm about to say. We're living in a reality where the first mainstream, like BBC, ABC, NBC, whatever, mainstream like that, we're just now, a few weeks ago, getting the first articles talking about various menstrual cycle complications post-poke. Do you understand? Hopefully the algorithm doesn't. So that's, how long has it been since we first found out about things like this? I mean, it's been a year, maybe more. I understand it takes long to vigorously, scientifically test something to make sure it's an accurate statement. But, I mean, really? I mean... I don't know, man. I think, you know, women should have kind of been made aware properly, you know, as a side effect, like kind of fucking gross and messed up. I mean, for them. Anyway, I digress. But they probably would have referred to that as disinformation at the time. When in reality, it just took them a year before they said, okay, yeah, you're allowed to say this now. Because, yeah, we figured it out. Did you really figure it out? Or did you just kind of adjust the time frame in which you trickle the truth out bit by bit? Because that's what it seems to be. Sometimes we eventually get the whole story, or as much of the story as they're ever going to give, but it's done through pieces and pieces at a time, released bit by bit over time. So the true emotional impact of finding out, what? There was 15 million shooters at Las Vegas that day? I thought it was just Stephen Paddock. Like, when they eventually come clean 15 years from now and say, it's confirmed there was actually 15 shooters, and I guess they were part of the government or some way. We'll find out in 15 years from now the full truth, but you can't just come out and say that. People get mad. You got to just trickle truth it. I know, a little speculative, but isn't that what it feels like, guys? That's all I'm saying. So her definition of disinformation... It's like that saying, what's the difference between the conspiracy theory and the truth? About 6 months. Kind of a stupid joke because it's very not, I don't know how often it's true. But it's true enough in a situation like I just said, the menstrual complexities post-poke. A lot of voices snuffed out for no reason, and it's a shitty feeling.
Scare people off. There are real health ramifications for this, and can be quite dangerous to people who are taking in that polluted information.
They're intaking polluted information, and there's real health ramifications. Do you see what I'm fucking talking about? The infodemic is as dangerous as a virus, guys.
and can be quite dangerous to people who are taking in that polluted information, whether it is disinformation or misinformation. We're seeing it in the abortion space now, also a very potentially dangerous space for women.
All of these pressure points are targeted.
Who are being told things on the internet that are just not factually correct, not scientifically sound.
Science is always changing. It should always be changing. I don't mean Science Corp LLC or whatever, the new one, the new diet science. I mean, like, good science is always changing. Like, I don't know. Science should be like, hey, bros, I think I found out exactly why that apple fell off that tree like that. And at first, it'll be like, hands on your fucking head, don't ever say that apple bullshit again. God made it fall. Something like that. I'm just making this up. And then eventually, after that guy is shot in the head for his apple conspiracy theory, science proclaims it to be true. Says, goddamn, you know, the guy that said that apple stuff, he was right. We shot him in the head with a 44 Magnum for no reason. Shit, man. And now it's mainstream. You know what I'm saying? Goofy way to put it, but that's kind of the point. And what about the people that lose their voice, their digital voice, in that process of scientific discovery? The people that lose their voice, banned from Twitter, saying, my menstrual cycle's fucked up. They get banned. Spreading disinformation. Sorry, that doesn't happen. 1 year later, CNN, oh yeah, it actually does happen. Do you get your Twitter account back? No, you don't, do you? You're snuffed out. Thrusted into the void. And when they start implementing biometric data, for instance, on YouTube, I said this already, I had to upload videos longer than 15 minutes or go live, I had to either wait for months, which was no can do, bucko, submit a picture of my driver's license, or a 30-second video selfie. And what they said was, submit a 30-second video selfie so we can run it through our facial recognition algorithm to see if you've been banned in the past. Guys, I technically, someone that's been banned, certainly not me, because I've never been banned. They would never be able to make an account ever again on the largest video sharing platform ever. Their digital vocal cords slip. Somehow, some people, not me, because I've never been banned, slipped through. Maybe their visual recognition wasn't that great. Maybe they're oversaturated. But guys, there's coming a day where, like, you're not able to do that. You're not able to participate, even by force. All these people that get banned, Donald Trump banned from Twitter, you know he made an alt account with a blank avatar just to observe. You could still do that. It's not like they stopped him from doing that. But you won't even be able to do that one day. Permanently snuffed out. Your digital person removed, seized from you. You've been a bad, bad boy.
You've seen it in the Russian-Ukraine war, with Russia spreading disinformation and then governments such as China picking that up. So we are really seeing it in so many different spaces and need to think about how best to get the facts out to audiences and how to hold actors accountable and call out what's wrong without further spreading it ourselves. So that is always a balance that we have to be mindful.
Right. Spreading this bad information. Did I remove the thumbnail? My bad. Oh no, we're good. Spreading this information, this bad information, this polluted information, no different than a virus, right?
Of.
Yeah, I want to come back to you, Melissa, because you talked at the beginning about how you'd started to kind of tackle this. What was the toolkit that you kind of came up with to try and start to, detoxify or
depollute? These are very demeaning, dehumanizing terms. Now, terms that you can argue probably come about from acknowledging the disinformation artists. Like, let's be real, I fucking hate disinformation. Sometimes you see it pop up and you fall for it for a second and you're like, wait a moment, this is shady as hell, dude. You know what I mean? So, but remember, they themselves say these are good people that often spread false information. So the crux of that issue is, how are you defining false information? And detoxifying and depolluting the human beings that are sharing this information. How do you stop Mima or Peepaw with all of their technological illiteracy from sharing Daily Wire links. She just insists on doing it. Is Facebook just going to ban Mima or Peepaw? Is that how they plan to depollute or detoxify? It certainly looks like it. What about the worst offenders like me? Radicalization potential of memory hold 5.0, 82%. Some Google quantum AI at FBI headquarters. Radicalization
Pollute
potential.
this kind of information sphere.
Travel to where the disinformation also travels. There actually, Claire has spoken about data gaps. We need to find where people are searching and get there.
Data gaps. Interesting.
First.
Get there first. Remember what I said? Predictive capabilities. They're talking about neutralizing this at the source.
But not with a kind of boring 50-page document.
Identifying it on 4chan before it proliferates out to Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, right?
But content that is produced.
How do you become predictable or predictive in your capability? Well, that's machine learning AI, which I've already discussed as World Economic Forum is already utilizing.
Produced in an engaging form that travels well digitally and works on social media. And also in languages. We deployed our country offices all over the world to kind of take the basic messaging that really didn't change that much on health guidance and on the efficacy and the safety of the vaccines, and produce content in such a way that it is locally relevant and that it travels in digital spaces, but it is also in languages that people understand and in contexts that make sense. So we really took a lot of guidance from our local teams, what was trending there. We don't want to, central messaging from Geneva or from New York isn't going to work for everyone. Another really key strategy that we had was to deploy influencers. Influencers who are really keen, who have huge followings, but really keen to help carry messages that were going to serve their communities. And they were much more trusted than the United Nations telling them something from New York City headquarters. So, and finally, we had another...
Crazy. So let's go back to that. What did they say? Deploying influencers, guys.
Strategy that we had was...
Another key strategy. So she describes this as a key strategy.
Another really key strategy that we had was to deploy influencers. Influencers who are really keen, who have huge followings, but really keen to help carry messages that were going to serve their communities. And
serve their communities. We're building a better world. Exactly. So this is social engineering 101. Do you get what I'm saying? This is social engineering. This is engineering artificially via the use of technology, digital toolkits at this point, to sway the minds of the masses, to make them believe in X instead of Y, right? It's mental alchemy. It's magic almost. You are transforming a person's mindset. The idea is bing-bonging inside their skull, transforming them inside of their body. You're spell casting. Sounds silly, but these are kind of what it is. Because they're deploying key influencers, people that you may not even, you would have no idea because they don't ever straight up tell you they're working on behalf of the World Economic Forum. That's the point. They're spreading the message as if it's ideological belief, as if they truly believe this is the best future for us, this is the best thing to do, when in reality they are just getting paid to push this, whether it's a product, right? We've seen it. It's even worse though than sponsors, right? When someone says, by the way, real quick, this episode is sponsored by whatever.com, right? They sell thermoses or some shit or beanies. That's different, because at least I would be saying, hey, my show is sponsored by them. I think it's a cool company, right? Maybe you say Memory Hold doesn't even like that product. You just get paid. Okay, maybe. That's not true. Hypothetical. I don't push any products, or I'm not affiliated with anyone either. But these people, that's different than Memory Hold working on behalf of the World Economic Forum and inserting in my videos. Okay, we looked at both sides of the spectrum, and guys, I think I might be changing my mind here. I think I actually kind of understand what they're talking about, the World Economic Forum. Seriously, I've been doing this for 6 years, and the more I look into their like what they talk about, the reasons behind what they do, I think, I think I'm starting to understand. I don't know. You get what I'm saying? That was $100,000 right now, right there, that you just heard. That was $100,000. That's what you're talking about with these influencers, where that performance I just put on might have been pretty convincing to someone. I might have turned all of you into Wilsons from Utopia, right? For those that watched Utopia, because we did an analysis on it, remember his transformation started as a big boy. Spoiler alert, turn the volume down. 3, 2, 1. Started as a big boy conspiracy theorist, no different than us, right? And what did he transform into once he was exposed to what their plan, the network's plan, really was? Well, his whole world changed because he started to think, yeah, they're right, actually, right? So that's fucking crazy, man. They deployed influencers, gymnastics girls, TikTok girls, right? They use those types of girls, right? The thirst traps is what the kids call them, right? Shit like that. Hashtag WEF on my ass as I do a twerk video for TikTok. Like, that's kind of what we're talking about. 100K, Cash App, twerking for World Economic Forum. Key influencers in the key positions of power to sway the masses, right? That's 2 million. That's 2 million followers right there exposed to the World Economic Forum twerking trend, right?
And
so anyway, they're trying to chase down the mind of your 12-year-old daughter, in other words, when they say deploying influencers.
they were much more trusted than the United Nations telling them something from New York City headquarters. So, and finally, we had another trusted messenger project, which was called
Bug. Trusted Messenger Project. It just sounds creepy.
Team Halo, where we trained scientists.
Oh, hey, guys, I did a video on this. Hold on. Team Halo, hold on. We're going to figure this out. This is brilliant. Because I've done coverage on this exact project. Maybe it's not actually. Yeah, okay. Well, let's just hear what she has to say. Team Halo, I thought, was a project where they used TikTok as like an information vessel.
Around the world, and some doctors on TikTok.
Yeah,
and we
there
had
it
TikTok
is.
working with.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So it was an official World Economic Forum program to instill certain beliefs about COVID and the vaccine on TikTok and the demographic on TikTok, the young kids. So here's an example, right? This is if you look up Team Halo. They only have one video here. Welcome to Team Halo, COVID, right? They have this little video.
Hi everyone.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hi guys.
Behind the scenes in their lab.
Quando tiver uma vacina disponível para ser humano contra o coronavírus, o que é que você vai fazer?
So what the vaccine does, the Imperial College one, is it gives you instructions for your body for a couple of weeks to produce these keys.
See, so that guy right there, he just might be like a cool doctor TikToker, right? That makes TikTok sketches. Maybe he does sketch comedy. He makes goofy TikToks during downtime or break in the hospital, right? And he's got 100,000 followers. Now let's make it more, 500,000 followers. But then all of a sudden he comes out with a video because this whole pandemic came out. All of his viewers are really scaled and stuff, and he feels bad. And from the genuine grace of his big, large, humongous heart, he makes a video saying, hey guys, this is how, the poke works. And he makes a video like this instead of the sketch comedy for once. The first time he was ever really serious.
Body for a couple of weeks to produce these keys.
Cheguei no meio da pandemia do novo
Same thing with
coronavírus.
this guy. He's another one of your favorite people.
But what exactly
Except he's a soccer commentator. But today, he's a vaccine expert, okay?
is RNA?
Humans eradicated smallpox, and hopefully with the coronavirus vaccine we can stop this pandemic in its tracks.
A safe vaccine is coming soon, and our species.
Now, what they argue is it doesn't really matter that we're fabricating this illusion, right? Because it's not an illusion, it's all accurate information. But once again, that brings us back to the crux of the issue. What is accurate and false information? Well, we do know that they have established that threshold. And we know that that threshold is Reuters level fact checking, which is unfair, biased, politically motivated, and used as a convenient tool depending on the current pressure level of current events, okay? AKA, they don't really care about hashtag Ukraine before the war, but during the war, they're going to be heavily monitoring that, heavily elevating algorithmically some posts, heavily algorithmically suppressing other posts that are disinformation, right? Because that would be polluting that information environment, okay? Because that causes direct harm. And what these people do is, it's not shady at all to pretend to not have 100,000 more in my bank account because I made this TikTok video on behalf of the World Economic Forum. That's the sketchy part. And they say it won't be because it's the truth, but it's not the truth. We've seen that. We try our best on this channel to delve into the evidence and show you the primary sources. And we've seen plenty of times where it's not the truth. Sometimes it takes a while for science to progress. Even the genuine true science, not diet science. Diet Coke, that poop science. That poop, that vomit science, that gross shit. You know? And you're going to ban everyone that says... Now the lab stuff, right? The COVID-19, redacted lab. Like, you're somewhat safe bringing that up now. But if you brought it up at the height of the pandemic, you're screwed, man. You know what I mean? So it's just not fair. And there's no process to retroactively bring those people back to life, because why would you want to? If you were the powers that be, why would you want to do that? Because even though they were vindicated in the end, those were still people that were thinking outside of the box, alternative to the system in place, the narrative in place. You don't want that, so you keep them silenced. And then, of course, you will one day activate the biometric identification system, which will be a precursor to a wider universal internet ID that'll either come before or after a universal digital ID. I think they'll do the internet first to really get us accustomed. You use it all the time anyway. But before that, the first step towards that will be, I want a YouTube partnership. I've got a lot of subscribers. Here's my selfie so you can put me through a visual recognition filter. Uh-oh, sorry. You've been banned in the past and you can't use our services. Instagram, Twitter, they might decide to retroactively deploy that. If you've been banned from Instagram in the past and they've seen uploaded pictures of your face, they have that biometric data, they might retroactively say, hey, you're evading a ban. That's against our rules. You got banned in 2016 once for saying the N-word on Catboy videos. And then you stay banned. You know what I'm saying? Which in that case, what are you doing? But so I don't know, guys. Let's see here. I'm gonna check the comments because we're at a pretty long. This has been a pretty long video. Maybe we'll analyze the rest of it in a little bit. Let's just see what else she has to say real quick.
With us. And these scientists who had virtually no following to start with got verified ticks. They started bringing people in their community.
They got verified check marks right off the bat. These brand new scientists that popped out of thin air, right? They started bringing people into their community, right? Under their spell.
Into their labs.
They're setting the culture straight. They're engineering the social environment.
Into their offices and answering their questions, engaging with them. It really took off, and many of them became kind of like national media go-to.
National media go-to
advisors.
Exactly, advisors. So let's think about like those morning talk shows, right? A little bit of news, a little bit of this. The ex-NFL guy is the host. Back to you, Jen. Look at this cat chasing a squirrel. Look at this squirrel on a jet ski. Forest fires in California. Death on a cruise ship. All starting at 7 a.m., right? Back to back to back. Well, the advisor that says, okay, what's the deal with this COVID-19 nonsense, right? Everyone has the COVID-19 advisor on their different talk shows, right? In the morning on the weekdays. Well, they're ours too. They're the World Economic Forum's too. 100K in the bank account for the girl to advise Anderson Cooper on what's right and what's wrong about this COVID bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that crazy? Just absolute, just crazy. So it really goes to show you that these are perception molders. These are people that sculpt perception. And you have to wonder, if you think all of what I'm saying is bullshit, think about it. Where do you get your perception from? Choose a topic, any topic. Fuck it, make it 10 topics. Choose anything, could be anything, 10 separate topics. Where do you get your ideas, your beliefs, your thoughts on those topics from? Like, can you truly say they're authentically yours? You organically generated them, spawned these thoughts yourself? Or did the suggestion come from someone that is respectable to you that might leave an impression on you, right? Are you more impressionable than you might think, right? You heard fucking, I don't know, Taylor Swift say something, and all of a sudden, that's your cause. You thought you just say, like, no, that's my cause. Like, I totally feel, you know, really in touch with this cause that I'm standing behind. It's like, no, it's like subconsciously you listen to that Taylor Swift song and never realize there's a part of the lyrics that mention it. But it's been subliminally, subconsciously implanted into you all 75 times you listen to that brand new Taylor Swift hit called Better Off Alone. Better Off Alone. Interestingly, after that song became popular, you began to develop introvert tendencies, formerly being an extrovert. Like, you get what I'm saying? People are fucking impressionable, man. So you get these influencers out there, and you're changing the minds of large swaths of humanity. And again, they might argue, well, if they're changing their minds to what we're believing, what we're saying, the conclusions we're making, doesn't that just add to the legitimacy of the information, right? They wouldn't agree with me. Even though I'm trying to get them to agree with me, they wouldn't agree with me if the information was wrong. Not really. That isn't true. Because you know the masses aren't putting in the work that's sometimes required to actually get to the real crux of whatever issue is presented to them. To really, truly understand it. Think of anyone standing with Ukraine right now. Has any of them listened to a Putin speech where they just, you know, the people that are saying stand with Ukraine, we got to stop this unprovoked attack on Ukraine. What are you talking about unprovoked? Just, you know, I should actually be careful here. I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying they're right. Any side is right. I'm saying you want to listen to what Zelensky says, his side, then actually pull up the speech of the opponent. But they don't do that, right? They know they do the bare minimum, and they prey on that, okay? So you become a victim of disinformation through your appeal to authority, right? The idea that they're sharing this information, therefore that information must be right. The idea of authoritative sources, the idea of World Economic Forum geckos becoming influencers and advisors on national television, the official authoritative source for COVID information, strapped up with a check mark before they right as they roll out of the womb, right? AKA right as they get recruited. So I don't know. Let me check the chat real quick, guys. It's been about an hour, so I think we need to chill out here for a little bit. I think this is good information, though. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you aren't subscribed to this channel already. Would help me out a lot. rockfin.com/memoryholds. That would be great. Also, I appreciate all recent tips. If you wish to tip, help the show out monetarily, you can do so with Venmo, Cash App, the typical stuff. Just check the description, the CoinTree link. All of them is in there. But don't worry, we're not all rich. What really matters is just sharing this video and hanging out with me. I do appreciate it. Hopefully you find it valuable. Lots of rants and raves in this one, but I think it was pretty packed filled with like a good, compact explanation of our current state of affairs when it comes to the attack on the infodemic, right? Tackling disinformation. And how the digital internet landscape is going to be radically different moving forward. And it sucks, man. You know, it sucks. I miss the old days, right? We all miss the old days. But thanks, Ion. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. Remember to hit the thumbs up on your way out, guys, if you don't mind. It helps me out immensely. Back on YouTube, too. Memoryhold 5.0. I'm going to drop the link to you guys. It is YouTube. I mean, I really would prefer Rockfin and D-Line, you know, any alternative platform, namely Rockfin, but we're trying to build back up over on YouTube. Maybe there's a way to do it. Maybe there's a way to do it. The biggest fuck you would not be so much leaving YouTube altogether, but rather finding a way to thrive, flourish on YouTube. So you'll be seeing like a few different types of things that I'm uploading. Like I've been heavily utilizing the Shorts, YouTube Shorts function. So if you go there, because I upload a lot of mixes and montages and stupid shit onto like TikTok and Instagram, right? Sometimes shortened versions of my videos. So if you go to my YouTube page, the homepage, you know, just go down, you're going to see it. There's a section for shorts here. And remember also, check out the playlist segment over on YouTube, okay? I'm curating these for you. We got one for the WEF. We got books. These are going to be audiobooks. H.G. Wells is in there, New World Order. So I'll build that up. We got the Program to Kill playlist here. So I'll be curating a bunch of different playlists for you guys. Oh, I gotta add the documentary too. Documentary playlist. I think that's cool. Make a free account. Follow me on Rockfin, man. That would be awesome. Because I can post show notes and shit here, you see? You go to the articles tab on Rockfin, check that out. Essays, stuff like that. I also made a Substack. Just search memory hold on these different things and you'll find me probably. But yeah, Substack is good. I still have yet to throw up some other things I gotta put up there. There's a lot going on, but I'll get it up there. We'll be putting the show notes and various posts and rants and essays and stuff like that up there. Over time, building it up over time. Anyway, guys, thank you very much. Thank you for chilling. Share this video, like, share, subscribe. I'll see you next time.